Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Create Your Life series, where we help you maximize your potential and results in the area of personal development, entrepreneurship, and travel. And I'm your host, Kevin Y. Brown.
Create your life.
Crée ta propre vie.
Create your life.
创造你的生活。
Create your life.
Crea la tua vita.
Create your life.
Ontstop your leven.
You better create your life.
Create your life.
Create la vie.
Create your life.
Create your life.
Beautiful people, this is the Create Your Life series. I'm your host, Kevin Y. Brown, and it is an amazing day. So happy to be with you here today. We have, some real superstars in the studio today, and we're definitely going to bring them on. But before we do so, I want to say that today is CEO Talks, what we do every first Sunday of the month. And today we're going to be discussing dynamic partnerships and how to decide on the company that you keep. Here in the studio, we have joining us Mr. Todd Weiner, CEO of Clever Area Coast. Of course, I'm Kevin Y. Brown, and our two lady guests who we have, they need no introduction, but at the same time, we're going to read their bio. We're going to give them an introduction. That being said, we have this young lady. She is equal parts warm tea and Hennessy. That's a strong drink. She's the author of the award-winning book, Eating Elephants, and the director of PR and creative marketing of Soledad O'Brien's PowHERful Foundation. She is the recipient of the Woman of Power Award presented by Bank of America and NABA NYC. She is the former strategic marketing director of Disney star Zendaya Coleman's fashion line. And she's transformed her life from a domestic violence victim to thriver. She specializes in brand identity, strategic marketing, public relations, and execution. A media personality and certified professional international speaker, her skilled, fun, and energetic speaking style has afforded her the opportunity to partner with and speak for a myriad of organizations from the entertainment stage to the corporate boardroom, including Progressive, UPS, BET, Miami Marlins, Grey Goose, Vogue Italia, Verizon, and others. She believes that beyond empowerment, it is necessary to properly equip all people to succeed. Beautiful people, we are talking about none other than Miss Alechia Reese. Alechia, please say hello to the Create Your Life family.
Hello. How are you guys? So happy to be here.
So happy to have you. I'm sorry, Todd. I definitely introed you and didn't give you the opportunity to say what's up to the Create Your Life family.
That's right, man. I understand. What's up, everybody? How you doing?
Okay, and last but definitely not least, we have a dynamic seasoned and no-nonsense personal and business coach and speaker. Her work of inspiring, educating, and motivating others provides her clients a radical approach to move beyond the ordinary and expected into the extraordinary. With the calling to show people how to define success for themselves and get the guts to go after it, she focuses on sharing practical, implementable strategies, tools, and processes to get you the results you want. As founder and CEO of the Radical Success Institute and the Vice President of Operations at Act Like a Success, the Steve Harvey company, she is driven by a singular vision to help people define success for themselves and have the guts to go after it. Through her work with Act Like a Success, live online courses, private coaching, and mentoring, and transformational live events, she teaches practical, implementable strategies. A lifelong learner, she is constantly engaging in continuing education courses and programs to stay on top of the latest research, trends, and information on success. She frequently interviews and talks with experts, thought leaders, and industry insiders in a variety of fields to glean relevant, timely, and practical insights to share with her clients and her community. We're talking about no other than Miss Doreen Rainey. Doreen, are you here with us?
I am here with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, man, we're so happy to have you. I mean, to be honest with you, I feel like we got just superheroes in the studio right now. So super happy to have y'all here. I want to jump right in because I know we have a limited amount of time, but I think that this topic is so necessary and that you and Alechia both, man, y'all have some partnerships going on. I mean, Ty, we talk all the time. We got some partnerships going, but I don't know if we quite made it to the big time like Doreen and Alechia. So, I'm going to jump right out there. As you know, CEO Talks is an open discussion amongst us CEOs. So I want to know, what has been your biggest partnerships and how did you go about achieving them? So, Alechia or Doreen, please take us.
Go ahead, Doreen. You get started. I want to hear.
Oh, okay. So, I've had the opportunity over the 10 plus years that I've been in business to have some partnerships that went really well and produced some great wins. And then I've also had partnerships that didn't pan out the way I'd hoped that they would. And in both situations, I've learned some great lessons. My latest partnership is working with Steve Harvey and his Act Like a Success platform. And two of the biggest lessons, I would say, just in seeking out partnerships and being able to build something from them, I just want to offer first two pieces of advice. Number one, make sure that you are in action. Whatever it is you want to partner with someone on, already be doing some things in that area. A lot of times I'll see people seeking out partnerships, wanting that partner to do all the heavy lifting, to come with all the resources, to come with all the contacts. And I always encourage people, what can you do right now from where you are to show people that you're bringing something to the table? And then the second thing I would offer is to build relationships. Most of my partnerships have come through networking and connecting with others. And so those are two things I think are key in establishing some partnerships.
So, Doreen, you said something that I thought was important. You said, establishing those relationships. When first meeting somebody, what are some of your strategies to authentically establishing that relationship?
So for me, I don't go in with an ask initially. If you understand that everyone is a human and on some basic level, you have something that you can connect with, I seek first to connect in that way. Because, you want the partnership, but people do business with people who they know, trust, and like. In order to get to the liking piece, they've got to get to know you and trust you. So for me, if I'm first meeting someone in my mind, I pretty much have already decided, okay, what it is that I want. And just like what you said, Doreen, already in action, already doing it, so that I can easily identify how it is I can be of assistance to them as well. But I just will compliment them at first. And as soon as I compliment them, I ask them, so, what brought you here, or what are you excited about? What new projects do you have? Start to build the relationship from there. And then to maintain it is consistently, checking on them, sending them things that, are relevant to their industry, going out for drinks, taking the time to go, not just online where we're liking each other's pictures, but offline. A lot of people just want to send an email and expect to be able to get $1 million deals, and that's just not how it works.
I like it.
And just to piggyback on what Alechia just said, which is so key, the coming offline. I have crisscrossed this country to connect with people, to take a meeting, to attend an event, to go out for coffee. And I mean literally get on a plane, fly, have coffee, and literally fly back. Because that know, like, and trust factor is key.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll actually jump in and agree with both of you guys. For me, it really does, like you said, you both said it really goes back to the relationships, right? It's if I meet somebody and I think there's something that can be done, I try not to approach it from the business side at first, because obviously that's the end result, that's the goal. I think for both parties, hopefully, is a mutual negotiation and some kind of contract or some kind of business partnership. But for me, it is that know, like, and trust. And the way to do that is just to remove, at least mentally, the idea of doing business first and say, can I hang out with this person? Is this somebody, if I don't feel like I could, go grab a drink with you, or go to a bar, or go to dinner and just hang out and have something in common, then this relationship's probably not going to work. It's just not going to work, because it does take time. And the best relationships that I've ever had, whether it's in business or partnerships or co-founder relationships, whatever it is, any contracts, are people that to this day I still talk to. To this day I still, just ping on social media or see in person at an event. I haven't seen you in 6 months. We say, oh, how are you doing? How are the kids? Yeah, that's great. Because it is building that relationship. It is building that network. And eventually, you don't have to be buddy-buddy, but at the same time, you want to be at least friendly, because these are people you're going to have to be working with in a very close relationship, and you're dealing with money, and you're dealing with business, and you're dealing with livelihoods if you're employing people. Like, this is a big deal,
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Alechia, specifically, when I read your bio, I ran off a bunch of great and big companies. Tell us about one specific company that you have a partnership with, and how you went about, at least, from the beginning, getting the relationship and
absolutely
growing it.
So one of my first partnerships that was on my name alone, it wasn't with a company or under a corporation that I was working with, was with Verizon. And how I met them is the organizer of it for the agency that they had hired. They asked me would I be willing to do a favor for them because they had someone drop out at the last minute. Doreen, that's where you were talking about already being in action. I was already hosting events, speaking for events. And so I said, absolutely, I'd be more than happy to, assist and step in where someone had fallen out. So I stepped in, and my thing is all I need to get is a toe in the door. If I can get a toe in the door, I'm going to go as hard. I'll give you 150% so that without a shadow of a doubt, having her on the project, having her in the room is something we need to continue to do. So in that, what happened is once I volunteered, because it was volunteerism, and I literally had to fly, again, like you said, Doreen, I had to fly to Atlanta because I was in business on travel. I flew into Atlanta, did the project for them for free. I did so well, they called me back and offered me a 10-month contract after that.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Now, let's talk about ratio, because I believe that we've all had the opportunity, we go out and it's like, I call that when somebody wants you to do something for free, you're doing it on hope. Unfortunately, hope doesn't pay the bills all the time.
No, it does not.
So I think it's important for us to make it realistic, right? So let's say for that one that you got, where you got the 10-month contract, how many free gigs did you have to do where something possibly didn't pan out? And Doreen, Todd, let's all talk about that part too, you know what I mean?
So I'd say for me, I'm a risk taker, but I take calculated risks. So I'm not willing to give a whole bunch of free stuff away if I know that there's no potential or possible opportunity that I can parlay that into a business deal. Most times, because I'm so good at building relationships, because just like you said, Todd, I don't go into it as, how can we work together? For me, it's, can we go grab dinner together? Can we laugh?
Right.
Can we joke? Can we be cordial? And beyond just cordial, can we be friendly enough that I'm willing to, open up and be vulnerable with you, and you're willing to open up and be vulnerable with me. So for me, free that have not panned out to anything, I'd say out of 10, maybe 2, because I don't take risks that I know I have not already calculated of how many moves and steps ahead I can take to make this happen.
Like it. Doreen, tell us something.
And I think the other key to that, to add to what she said, was that you have to be clear on what types of partnerships you're looking for, and be clear on, so what does that mean? And a lot of times I see people may hear a big brand or a big name or a big company, and they just start almost spaghetti on the wall, just trying to get in, but not really understanding, and what value will you bring? What type of deal are you looking for? Are they even interested in something like this? And if you can ask those questions up front, you can reduce the number of opportunities that you might be doing at reduced or no fee, versus, yes, I'm reducing and this is no fee, or I'm doing it for free, but there is potential here and I'm clear on what that potential is. And if it doesn't work out, at least you know that you were dealing with someone where it was in the realm of what it is you're trying to do.
So two things, but the first one is that I had a guest on here, George 2.0, a while back, and he's the DJ for Janelle Monáe, performance entertainer. He said that even if he does something for in kind, he'll still invoice you. So that you understand the value of the services that you got. And so it wasn't
absolutely
free. It was the fact that it was, it was just that the fee was waived versus it being something for free.
Absolutely.
Right. And so that people have that respect for you.
They do get a contract that shows the original fee and what's waived. And I also give a reason why it was waived. Because a lot of times these companies, they'll talk to each other. And I don't want anybody thinking that I'm someone who offers free services. And so when they can see the agreement, they can see the original fee, they can see that it was waived and why it was waived. Then if they talk to someone else, they'll have that context that they come and talk to you as well.
Yeah, and I think the other thing also, my bad, Todd, to cut you off, is that when you go to conferences, you have people who are professional conference goers, right? And you got all of these business cards and things like that. I think it's also very important to be clear when you're going into certain conferences or you're going into places that, these are the people, I call it a hit list. These are the people that I want to connect with and, offer value to, so that we can then begin a relationship.
Right. What I think I could add to the conversation is that when I was younger, coming up as an artist and a designer, the main skill set that I had was my craft. right? I had forged this thing, put my 10,000 hours in, got to a point where I knew I was professional. And so getting my feet wet, I would do whatever I had to do free. I used to, hang out at animation studios, design studios for free, just hang out there, do whatever they wanted, because I knew the minute they needed somebody, I would be right there. Yeah. As you get a little older, you become a little more strategic in it. So when you start to launch a business, you have to start thinking about what is it that I can provide, what is it that I can present that is positioned as a free value or something that shows my value to another business, but where from your perspective, from your footprint, it is a win-win. So an example would be, let's say I want to create a new product. I'm going to launch something new. It's going to be an agency to bring in leads for a new business, right? So new clients for a business. I can go out there and I can partner up with like a dentist office, right? And I'll say, look, I'm brand new at this. It's a new company. I will bring you free traffic. All I'm looking for is your testimonial afterwards to show that my business works. And
Absolutely.
You find someone that's willing to say, yeah, free traffic and free customers, absolutely. So you do that for a minute, you prove your system. But what you're really doing is you are building a pipeline for your business. Mm-hmm. And then after you've built that system, you can then go back to that person and say, well, how'd you like that free traffic for a month? Oh, it was fantastic. We got 3 or 4 new clients. I'll totally give you that testimonial. Great. If you'd like to continue that service, it's X per month.
Absolutely.
And if they say, well, wait, I don't understand. I thought this was free. I was like, well, no. I mean, this was obviously a free trial. And, obviously you want to talk about this in advance and do some contracts so that you want to be upfront and honest. But this is your system that you are building. Mm-hmm. And this person is your first client. Their benefit to trusting you at an early stage was that they got something free out of it. But at the same time, it's your system that you're building. So there is a no losing from your perspective. Absolutely. If this person does not want what you have to provide, you've already built it. You've already got the testimonial, and you can go to somebody else and just sell those same traffic. All those leads you're bringing into a dentist office, you just go to another dentist office and say, look, it was proven with this guy, but he didn't want it, so here you go.
Yeah.
I think that it's important also, one thing we call it the gospel of Todd. What is it? Amateurs build.
Yeah.
How's it go? What's your famous quote, man?
Is it famous? Is
it's
that what
famous
it is?
now.
Yeah, well, the difference between...
I even know it is famous.
The big difference between amateurs and professionals, and that is that amateurs, what they will do is they will make something in order to sell it. And professionals sell something first in order to make it. And that is true across every single industry, every single genre, every single art form. You will always find people who are pre-selling something and finding an audience for it first, and then getting that first order in, and then using that as the excuse to fund the business to build something. Amateurs make it because they want to make it. They have an idea for something. They put it together, and then they try to find somebody to buy it. And when they can't, they just can't deal with it. They don't understand why their brilliant idea didn't work.
So I wanted to piggyback, and I want you to say that because I thought that it was so important when we talked about giving that trial service away to this dentist office. It's a lead, right? Mm-hmm. It's a lead funnel. Yep. And so it's important that don't provide that service if it's going to be a big expense to you. So you want to operate with an MVP,
right? That
minimal viable product.
Absolutely.
I think that's going to be, that's your bread and butter until you get to a point to where the services, to where you're in the black, essentially.
Right. And even if you're starting off, even if you find somebody that isn't willing to pay you up front, again, getting something like a testimonial or referral is payment, because that's going to validate future services.
So I'll say something about testimonials. I've had the opportunity to give presentations across the world, right? Speeches, Australia, Japan, everywhere. And I had been building up testimonials for years. Like on YouTube, if you go on YouTube, I have like almost 300 video testimonials from like satisfied clients and people who, have seen my presentations. Not until this past like 4 weeks ago, that I feel like those testimonials really came into play.
Yeah.
And we're talking about years of building as a professional speaker. And I feel like I got this big contract with a corporation, and they wanted me to come in and speak, et cetera, et cetera. And when I asked the lady, like, how did you find out about me? How did you decide on me to be a speaker? She said, oh, it was because you had all of these testimonials, and it seemed like you were tried, true, and proven. And I'm like, wow. But to me, I might have used the testimonials here and there, but it always seemed like they were not working. So I think that there is definitely value in testimonials. And I think for our listeners, if you're out there, video testimonials are more powerful than written, because I can write my own written testimonials. When you see that emotion from people, I think it takes you, to another place.
Absolutely. That's how I grow my entire business. I don't advertise. I've never advertised. I don't know what it is like to pay for advertising for my business. It has always grown from testimonials.
That's awesome.
I want to stop this real quick. And I got to highlight Alechia, because we were in SLP together, which is a startup program. Startup fellowship. And she's probably like one of the hardest working people that I know. like I'm talking about, she would literally come like to our sessions were like late on Tuesdays. She'd bring her daughter. Her daughter's here in the studio, Princess, and Alechia would be there working hard. She's like still doing work like prior to managing her daughter. I don't know. Like, moms are superheroes in my opinion. I don't know how y'all do
Amen
it.
to that, man.
But then she would leave the event. I guess her sister would come and meet her, and then she'd be like out at 2 or 3 events for her clients the same night. I'm like, dude, I'm tired. I've been up since 6. I'd be like, yo, Alechia, how long have you been up? Oh, you know, I got up at 4 this morning. I got up at 5. What's happening? And then you go look on her Instagram stories the next day, and she's posting because she's giving a presentation at this women's event, you know, for the legacy. And I'm like, and her daughter's with her the next day. I'm like, come on, man. So I don't know. I just have to go on that tangent real quick because you are a very hardworking person. Now I want to switch modes. We talked about some of the good partnerships that we've had. Can y'all tell us a bit about bad partnerships that you have went into? Probably more so earlier on than nowadays because we're all seasoned. And what are some of the key lessons that you've learned from them?
Who wants to jump in first?
I'll jump in first. You know, I've been in business over 10 years now, and it's probably been, 4 or 5 years since this particular incident. But I had, taken a few years to build up the relationship with a fairly well-known brand. And after a few years of doing some things together and having that know, like, and trust factor come into play, we did a deal around some product launches and things like that. And the deal was kind of, I am putting up the initial capital, the initial investment, because of the size of the brand. And, lawyers did their thing, I's dotted, T's crossed, plans made, scripts written, production staff in place. And 2 days before we go into production, it all falls apart. I mean, completely falls apart. Everything from what was said or wasn't said, or clarity of expectations, which I thought was very clear in the contract. And not only did the deal fall apart, and not only did, obviously, I lose my financial investment, but the relationship fell apart. And looking back, and some of the lessons that I learned from that is, once the lawyers kind of did their thing, we went into implementation mode as opposed to making sure that we maintain the relationship and the open communication. And also just being aware that you have to have ways to recoup and put in some parameters if things don't go the way you want to go. So that was a hard lesson learned, both financially and in terms of how you can salvage relationships, even if the business falls apart, if in fact you want to salvage the relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel as though, so I ran into a similar situation, and it was not traumatic, but a little bit traumatic because I had brought in one of my best friends as well. We were new. New in business. I hadn't even been established for 6 months at the time. Because I was like you, and I didn't even know I was an amateur or that was a pro move at the time, but I had no proof of concept, no anything. And I pitched to a city of Miami commissioner to do a project with them for Art Basel. Pitched to them, told them what we wanted, what we were doing, and then I brought in my best friend to manage another piece of the opportunity that I just couldn't handle, bandwidth, whatever. So we come in, we sign all the contracts, we take care of everything. They make the initial payments just fine, no issues. They make the second payment just fine, no issues. The third and fourth payment just does not come. Oh, don't worry, we're coming. Oh, don't worry, we got you. Art Basel has now come and gone. Everything we said we would produce and then some has been produced, over 1 million impressions. We did everything we said we would do, and that third and fourth payment's still not here. So my best friend is looking at me cross because she's invested money, time, energy, effort. And so I go to them and I explain, the gravity of the situation, the contracts that we've signed, how much is remaining to request. Like, okay, what are we going to do? And they basically just, said, well, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. We're going to have to ask basically for your forgiveness because we can't fulfill the remaining portion of the contract.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Woo.
Okay, you got to keep going. Like, how do we rectify this?
How I resolved it, and we're still best friends to this day. She actually is the godmother of my daughter. I resolved it, but I agreed. I went to her and I was just honest. I'm not good at trying to fake the funk. So either it is or it isn't, left or right. There is no, let's try and skate this middle. So I went to her and I explained to her the situation. I apologized on not only my behalf, but on their behalf, and then asked her, would she be willing to allow me to pay a portion, not even half, but a portion of the amount that was remaining. And then I would be willing to come on another project with her at an extremely reduced amount in order to compensate for what she did not get paid because of them reneging on the contract once the requirements had already been fulfilled. So that's how I resolved it.
Okay. And what do you feel like were the biggest lessons that you learned?
The biggest lessons for me is to require them to have as much skin in the game as you. If you don't have as much skin in the game as I do, it's a no for me, especially if you already know and you have proof that I deliver. I need you to have some skin in the game, too. And then if I am coming in with another person, I need it to be that they have a separate contract from me and it is not tied into me, that their contract is specifically with them, not with me through them.
Smart. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, so really quick, the story that I got, probably the biggest one is we had a startup several years ago. It was a decentralized real-time art gallery platform, and had really good engagement. Had a nice viral coefficient. People were on it, sharing it. To this day, visually and what it did is still one of my all-time favorite things we ever did. And we were looking for revenue generation because just selling art pieces on there wasn't going to be enough to support the business. And so through somebody I trusted, I found somebody who was interested in potentially white labeling the program. And again, this was through somebody I trusted who had done a deal with this person, so I knew this person was legitimate. He had a publicly traded company. And long story short, I got him to sign a contract for starting at a little over $500,000. And got everything signed. For me, that was at that point, it was the biggest thing I ever did. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there and I'm like trying to remain calm. I'm like, yeah, this is, oh my God, I'm gonna party tonight. And one of the terms inside the contract was that there was a down payment. Like on signing of the contract, I get a payment so that I can start working for you to do all the stuff that you want me to do for this service. And he was like, well, I don't have it right now, but it's not a big deal. We're just gonna move it. Take a couple days. I was like, okay, that's a little weird. There's a little yellow card, not a red flag, just like a little yellow card. And I was like, all right, cool. So long story short, like week after week after week after week, for months, no payment, nothing. And meanwhile, I'm sitting on this $500,000 contract, and I'm like, what is going on? And finally had to get my attorney involved. And it turns out like this guy's got shell companies and pushing money around. The company has zero financing. It's like penny stocks. It's awful, man. Awful. And I'm just sitting there like, sometimes even when you do the right thing, this person was vetted. I knew someone who had paid him, you know what I mean? I called this guy back. He was like, no, man, really, like he actually did pay me for this, but he just, the investors ended up firing the CEO, the guy who had made the contract with me, like got rid of him. Yikes. tried to snake me, tried to, erase the contract, and it was a bad deal, man. That stung for a long time. Yeah.
I mean, it could be tough. I think it's important. Todd, we've had several conversations. I almost went into a bad partnership doing an event for Create Your Life, and we ended up having to pull out at the last minute. And then my godbrother, I was having a conversation with him, and he said, hey, man, you have to protect this brand that you've been building like it's a newborn child. He was like, nobody's just going to give their child away. So you have to look at it like that, and people have to be vetted. And one of the things that I learned from that was the fact that people don't always work with the same tenacity as you, or just that same level of creativity and just a standard. I feel like you always have to have a standard whenever you're doing anything. And we obviously worked on different standards and at different levels. And so it was a partnership that I was happy to back out of, but there were definitely people I did not want to have to make that phone call or send out those emails saying, hey, you know what, this event has been postponed. And that for me spoke volumes because I know how I operate, and I do this for real, not for thrills. So, I was just like, oh my goodness, I have to, basically renege on this event and postpone it. So that taught me a huge lesson. But what we're going to do is we're going to cut to a quick musical break, and then we will be back. If you have any questions, Create Your Life family, call in 212-650-6903. This episode is brought to you by Podcast Laundry, a podcast editing service that gives podcasters more time to be creative by handling the dirty work of editing and all of the behind-the-scenes work that podcasters hate. If you're a podcaster, check out our services and purchase a package today. Spend more time doing what you love and let Podcast Laundry do the dirty work for you. Visit podcastlaundry.com for more information. Beautiful people, this is the Create Your Life series. I'm your host, Kevin Y. Brown, and we are back with some amazing people. Here we have Miss Alechia Reese, we have Doreen Rainey, we have Todd Wanish, and of course, I'm here. Jumping right back in, Doreen, when we were on the break, you definitely said that you wanted to talk a bit about how you got your partnership with, national icon Steve Harvey, and, give us some of the lessons that you learned along that journey. Please bless us.
Well, I am always looking to learn and grow. I am a lifelong learner, and I constantly engage in masterminds and working with coaches to make sure that as I move my business from each level, that I'm equipped and prepared and can learn from other people's experiences and insights to make sure my road is a little bit smoother than what it would be without the help and support. And it was inside of one of these masterminds that as I implemented the things that I learned and as I continue to grow the business and grow the bottom line, Steve at this time was looking to grow his motivational platform. And those of you who are listening may be familiar with Lisa Nichols, who is a motivational speaker and an entrepreneur coach. And she and Steve had been working together to kind of flesh out what this business could look like. And when they decided to move forward, he was looking for someone who could run this business for him. And my name came up in Lisa's mind because she had seen the work that I had done. She saw how I ran my company, the front end, the back end, the marketing, the client fulfillment, and how filled with integrity and how consistent I'd been. And so based on that recommendation, he brought me in to run this company for him. And so I'm always telling people that you never know who's watching. And so you always have to bring your A game. Sometimes I see people bring their A game when they think they can get something out of it. But if you just always on your A game, building your own business, working with your own products, developing your own services, honing in on your craft, being the CEO of your company, making money, getting in the black, staying in the black, you never know who's watching. Because when it came time for him to look for someone to run this company, I was the name that popped in her mind, even though she knows a ton of people. And so those are some lessons I got out of coming to work for him. And it's been an incredible experience. He's an amazing man, and he is inspiring and motivating, and it's a joy to work with him.
And you said something that I really, really love. You said, always bring your A game. I got it from my mentor, so it's not my quote, but I use it like it's mine. There's always a seat at the table for excellence. If you can understand that every single time you step into a room, into a project, and you're working on something, you are always, always excellent, because excellence is undeniable. Whether they like you, don't like you, it is absolutely undeniable. So if you can get to the point to where all you produce is excellence, you'll have people talking about you who you never even knew your name.
And I think what's also interesting about that is the idea behind bringing excellence. The idea behind bringing your A game is not necessarily about showing off, right? It's about understanding and proving the benefits to the other person. Absolutely. Right? It's always about the other person. It's always about understanding what value you can bring and understanding that your responsibility is to create some type of irresistible offer for that other person. If that person are sitting across from the table with you or in some business that you're working with, if they're focused on money, right? If that's their key driver, then you have to understand that you must bring something to the table that makes their investment smaller. You have to bring something to the table. The value you create must be bigger than whatever they feel like they're willing to lose. Same thing with time. If time is their number one thing, whatever you bring to the table, whatever offer you bring, must make time that they spend working with you less than the value that you bring. And that's really the secret to the entire game. That's the whole secret, because once you do that, they are willing to make a trade. And this happens on a subconscious level. It isn't something that just happens consciously. It's not like you're saying, like, what can I trade with you today? It's right. It's really about understanding that you are there to provide for that person and provide enough value and get that person to wherever they want to be or closer to their outcome, whatever their desired outcome is. Absolutely. And in exchange, that reciprocity that comes back to you is the benefit of your excellence. Yeah. That is how excellence is proven and shown, and that's what drives A-list players, the A-game players.
Well, I think simply put is just you solve their problem. If you can solve a person's problem, the relationship will continue to last and be fruitful.
Yeah. And it goes back to what you were saying, Todd, about pros, how they sell it first and then build it. That goes back to finding out, okay, what is it that you really ultimately want?
Right.
If I can figure out what you ultimately want, then I can decide, okay, yes, this is something that I am able to provide you at a level that is nothing but excellent, because I know now exactly what you're looking for.
Right.
You want more time? Great. The reason I'm bringing you this product is because this will save you 20% per week on how much time you spend doing X, Y, Z.
Quantify. Thank you.
Right. That's right.
Quantify. Let's go, Leash. Okay, so I want to switch modes and kind of take it, to more of a personal level. What are some things that you look for when you're deciding, like you meet somebody, they seem like an amazing person, and you're like, you know what, they can be a part of my inner circle, they cannot be a part of my inner circle, etc. Like, what are some of the ways that you all discern that?
I think.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So for me, it's a matter of how you treat other people, how comfortable you are talking to me about people who I don't even know, but who you're connected with. That's number one. And number two, for me, energy is everything, because I've spent so much time getting to know who I am at this point that I am so in tune with who Alechia is, what works for Alechia, what does not work for Alechia, that I can instantly almost feel whether or not the energy of a person will mesh well with me or those who I'm in constant, interaction with. And then I judge and base whether or not they continue to be close to me based on that. And then I pay attention to actions. Actions to me is everything.
Leash, you said something. You said how comfortable someone is talking about people that they know that you don't know. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because I feel like sometimes people can talk positively, people can talk negatively. Like, what has your experience been with that, and how, you know what I mean, do you judge that?
Sure. So I was the director of PR for this huge music festival in Miami earlier this year. Anita Baker, Smokey Robinson, a number of major heavy hitters, Shaka Khan. And so while there, because I am super mellow, it takes a lot to rile me up. So I'm super mellow, so it makes it very, very comfortable for people to talk to me. There was a young lady there who I was working with on the project. And while working with her on the project, she had an issue with one of the other women there. She didn't know that the person was actually my sister. Oh. Because my sister and I look nothing alike. No one will know she's my sister because we have different last names and we look absolutely nothing alike. So she comes to me and she's just blasting off with all the things she hates, all the things she's upset about and everything else. And I just listened because that is my job. I'm supposed to just listen. She wanted to forge a relationship and a business partnership with me. But what she taught me in that moment is I can't trust you around my clients, because when you get upset at an event, because we're in the middle of the event. I think Shaka Khan was on stage blasting her tunes. We're in the middle of the event. And you are coming to me to talk to me about someone who we are working together with. You are not someone who can be in my close proximity, because you will frustrate my spirit and I can't be bothered.
Okay.
I would say, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I would say, I think energy is so key. I definitely agree with that. And the other piece is, we live in an information age right now. And so when you're looking to build relationships, you can find out some things about that person, what their focus is of their business, what their mission is, what they tend to gravitate to. And so I look for people who also have an understanding of the things that are important to me when it comes to business, when it comes to any deals that we may have going on. And they see themselves making a contribution, and they're able to express what that contribution looks like. And so when someone says, oh, I'd really love to work with you, I'd really like to get involved, you should be able to tell me what you think that looks like. Give us something to build on. as opposed to me trying to find a place for you to fit in, because I've got a lot of things going on, and it makes it easier for the person that you're looking to partner with if you can kind of lay out a couple of options of how you can add value.
Absolutely.
That's dead on. And just to add a little bit to the whole energy part of the conversation, over the years I've developed sort of a 3-step mechanism for myself that I think ties into energy.
Ooh.
And the first is I look at any situation, I say, can I provide value? Because I enjoy that, and that's my job, right?
Yeah.
The second step is, do I enjoy it? Right? If I can provide value, but I'm not enjoying it, then forget it. It's not going to work. This is not going to work. The third is reciprocity. If I can provide value in this relationship and I'm really enjoying it, but over time, that reciprocity, that I don't get that back somehow, and it doesn't have to be direct. It's not like, hey, I did this, you got to do that. It's not something conscious. It's just over a period of time. I mean, so in my business, I work primarily with really fiercely independent entrepreneurs who are dead set on high ticket sales, right? Whatever business they have decided that they need a product that sells over 2,000, 10,000, 20,000, whatever. So I work with people. It's always going to be a partnership, right? It's a very one-to-one thing. And if I go into it and I'm like, man, this person's really awesome. I really think I can provide value. I can help. And then I'm working with that person and then it's really enjoyable. Over a period of time, if they stop listening to me, right? And it doesn't have to be, nobody has to listen to me 100%, right? Everyone's human. Everyone's got to make their own decisions. It's not so cut and dry. But if over a period of 6 to 8 months, if I'm working with somebody and they're continually dropping my experience, right? Because I know what I'm good at, right? I'm not a rocket scientist. There are a few things I'm really, really good at. If you choose not to listen to that my perspective, great. But over a period of time, I am able to provide less value, and therefore I enjoy it less, and therefore that relationship falls apart.
I saw this meme on social media that I thought was funny. A person like that is called an ask hole. ASKHOLE. They ask, but they don't implement the knowledge, or the jewels that are being dropped on them.
Or they do something exactly the opposite of what you tell them. I'm like, what you do?
Yeah, man, that's an ask hole.
Yeah, why did you waste my time?
Yeah. My life. See, this is life that people waste. When they don't listen to you and they want to sit in front of you and just talk, you're wasting my life. I can't get that time.
Well, it also makes you kind of, as a professional, as someone who's in your own business, it puts you in a position where you almost have to run away. Because if you represent a client and they're making bad decision after bad decision, and this is going to destroy them or their business or their employees, then you don't want other people to assume that you gave this person this advice. You can only tell somebody, you can only say, what the hell are you doing? So many times before you have to jump away and be like, okay, well, this is a relationship. I am no longer able to help. God bless.
Flag on the play, I'm out.
You're guilty by association and amazing by association.
That's right.
So you got to keep that in mind.
The company you keep.
You got to, I'm good, love, enjoy them.
Speaking of company that you keep, if we take it back to the core, right? You have people who you've known for a long time. How do you deal with people who still see you as you were before versus who you've grown into?
Oh, yeah. Who wants to take that one first?
So for me, my background, so I had an abusive marriage and another abusive relationship before that. So I used to choose abusive men like, children choose candy. It was fun for me because I thought I could, quote unquote, fix them. So during that time, there were just really terrible things about my personality that I didn't like, that just were not conducive for growth or success or anything like that. So when I started to change, that means I change who I'm around. That changes how I respond, how I act. All of that changed. So there were friends who were from back then who knew me from, quote unquote, before the transformation. And they would sometimes trigger me intentionally to see how I would respond. And again, super mellow, but the Hennessy part of me really does exist. And I would help them understand, hey, this I no longer do. If you can't vibe with who I am at this point in the game, that's totally fine. I will love you from ever, but I will love you for forever, but I will love you from over there.
That's right.
Period.
Mm-hmm. Doreen?
Yeah, and I would say that as I evolve, both, personally through personal growth and, building up more confidence and being more assertive and being more comfortable in my own skin, as well as my business began to grow, you become a mirror for other people. And they'll either look at that and say, wow, I'm inspired. I'm celebrating you. I'm excited for you on this journey. Or they'll look in that mirror and they'll get resentful, or they'll think you're changing or you're being something that, that doesn't resonate anymore. And just like Alechia said, I can love you from afar. And many of those relationships just kind of fell away because it's hard for darkness to be around light.
That's right.
And so they tend to fall off more than be confrontational. And so many of those relationships just kind of shifted and changed over time. And I also began to add in new relationships. And so I began to reach out and connect more with other people who were wanting to take a similar journey, or who were optimistic, or who were focused on being their best selves, who wasn't into gossiping or excuses or being pessimistic. And so a combination of those two things, the circle that I was in just evolved, and I was able to connect with those who were more aligned with where I was headed.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the concept of mirroring is something that I've learned to do over the years as well, and
especially as a parent, right?
Especially as a parent, for sure. But I still have some very close friends that I grew up with that are back home in Florida, and I've just known them for my whole life. There's certain people in your life that you've known since you were like 2 or 5 or 15 or 20. Like you're going to know them forever, right? Yeah. But when we get together, if any, and I learned this over a period of years, if I started saying, hey, how you doing? How you doing? How's the business going? And I actually told them, like, they would not only would they not be able to relate to it, when I would offer advice, they'd be like, oh, there goes Todd again. Yeah, he's talking about email. Like, I don't check my email, so nobody else checks their email. They would just blow it off. And it was because they didn't see me as who I am. They see me as who I was, right? They see me as that kid, or they see me as that teenager. So I had that choice of like, well, do I drop them? Well, no, because I care about them so much. So when I get together with them, and I still talk to these, a lot of these guys all the time, I just mirror them. I just talk about, I know what they're going to want to talk about, and I just talk about that, and I can relate to them on their level, right? And that's part of being a good salesman anyway. So I talk to them on their level, and there's things that I care about too, right? Yeah. It's just that they ask me about business, I say, that's good. Anyway, let's get back to the conversation. And then there's a whole another section of really good friends that I had just over the course of years, and very similar to what both of you guys kind of mentioned. I just felt that either they weren't going to be coming with me on my journey, they weren't going to support me on my journey, right? Mm-hmm. Some people are friends, but they're like, yeah, you're not going to do nothing, right? And I ghosted. Yeah. It was like, friendship is a two-way street. You can, not that we're enemies. Like I still, hit them on Facebook, but like, how you doing? Yeah, it's great. Congratulations on the birth of your second kid. But at the same time, like, there's not much to talk about. And if we see each other in person, then I go back to that mirroring, and it's like we start the conversation almost like just where we left off, and we have a great time.
So what I'll say is this: for me, I guess I've been having a different type of experience. For me, I can only take that mirroring, I can only take it in doses. Yeah, because after a while, I'm kind of like, you know what? Now I'm
depleted.
Right. Well, I'm depleted, and I'm also rescinding. Right. Because I'm going backwards at this point. And for me, a lot of that would mean that I would be in certain environments that this version of Kevin should not be in. And so I look at it completely different. And what I've been having is actually having this experience. It's actually a personal, selfish question, this one. This one and the next one are like super selfish, because these are things that I've been learning and have been having to deal with. And now I'm just kind of like, based upon conversation. If I hear somebody start talking about love and hip hop or something like that, man, I'm going the other way. I'm not into that. You know what I mean? I think that some people watch that for entertainment, but I can go back to 151 Kemper Street and not, can see, love and hip hop anytime I want to. And so I just think that you have to be conscious of that energy and being around that at the same time. I think that there are levels to conversations. Like I believe that a lot of times, like even here in this roundtable, we're having a higher level conversation, and there are some conversations that won't necessarily be beneficial to you, but might be beneficial to someone else. Mm-hmm. So you have those, but if they're an asshole, then we're not rolling with that.
You got to push people, and like I said, mentally push them into a relationship status. Like for me, like when I talk to my friends back in the day, no matter where they are, if they're not like here, like if they're not entrepreneurs and not my network where I am now, I just pretend like I'm talking to a cousin or a brother or a sister or an uncle, right? Like somebody in my family, because you can be like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, did you see that? Yeah, it was great. All right, talk to you later. Bye. And then you're back to your life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I treat them, and it's also made our relationships better because they have, honestly, they're not friends. They're family. Right. Yeah. And because I am able to put them in that family bucket, it doesn't matter what they do in their life. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely. Because some people are going to be just like you and going to be that entrepreneur, and everyone's going to have businesses, and then all of a sudden they're going to go left and you're going to go right. You know, they're going to stop that business and go back to do whatever. Yeah. People's lives change all the time. So instead of like bringing people in and dropping people off, some people you just know you're going to know for a long time.
You know what? I want to bring a point of clarity. I think what I'm talking about more so is around energy, okay. Right? Yeah. And so when I'm thinking about that, it's the type of energy that comes with certain types of conversations. Like a good person is a good person regardless, right? Yeah. You know, it's just good people. And sometimes, you know, you and good people, we're sitting here, man, we're talking about Iron Man and Transformers. You know, it's fine. Or, you know, being an equestrian or, you know what I mean, where you've grown up at, you know, in another country and some of your travel experience is great. We don't have to talk entrepreneurship. But the moment when that energy becomes negative or it's not, like you feel it in your spirit, you know what I mean, being in tune. Alechia, you talked about doing that personal work and getting to know yourself so easily, you know, earlier. I think that's at the point where you have to be very clear and then also pay attention to how you feel when you're around certain people. I think that makes a huge difference. All right, last question. We only got like a couple more minutes. How do you deal with the undercover hate or jealousy? Go. You got like 30 seconds. Everybody got like 30 seconds.
Oh man, I just ignore it and move on. If you're not being,
if don't deal.
if you know what's that old saying? If you don't have haters, you're not doing anything.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, to be honest, I don't even know if they exist. In my universe, it's not a focus. I'm pretty sure they do exist, but for me, it is completely irrelevant. I'm busy. I have a whole human that I'm trying to raise to be an amazing person.
That's right.
I'm trying to find some symbolism of a life. I'm running a business and also dealing with family and friends and everything else. So if the haters exist, I guess, well, I hope they happy.
Love it.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Right. I totally agree. I have a full life. And so the energy, the time, the effort it takes to look at that or address that, if they even exist, I just don't have it. And so, and I also believe that energy that we've been talking about, to maintain that at a high level, you have to be able to kind of block that out if they're there and let them do whatever it is they're going to do while you keep it moving.
Okay. All right. So last thing, one tip that you would tell somebody looking to go into a partnership, whether it be a company that they're at the same level or they're aspiring to get with a bigger company. Go.
Relationship. Get to know somebody first.
Okay.
For me, in a world full of liabilities, you've got to figure out how you can be the asset.
Yes. And I would say be prepared. Every time I get approached, 9 times out of 10, and I'm being really serious about that, 9 times out of 10, when I ask them to send me something, like show me something, it doesn't have to be a full business plan, but what are you doing? What have you done? What do the numbers look like? They're not prepared. They're not prepared.
And what I would say is persevere.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, stick to the script. If you want it, go get it. Otherwise, don't talk about it. Period. Shut up. I don't care.
Right.
And, when it comes to the different deals and how we've been able to grow the show and things like that, it's all been perseverance, sending those emails, calling people 7 days a week, 5 days a week. Probably shouldn't have been doing a 7. You know what I mean? In order to get there and make that happen. So it's so important for us to stick with it no matter how hard it gets. I recently just posted a post on Instagram, just being fully transparent, about my journey and how important persistence and perseverance has been for me. It's literally, I feel like 90% of people won't show up for the task and won't show up for themselves. So I think that it's super important for you to be able to do so. And with that being said, everyone, tell us how we can stay in contact with you.
Sure. Todd is available at cleverera.com. That's CLEVERERA.com. It's a little modal, little pop-up window. Just put your email address in there and we'll stay in touch.
For me, you can easily find me AlechiaReese.com, ALECHIA, last name Reese, REESE, and on all social networks.
Okay.
And you can find me at DoreenRainey.com, DoreenRainey, Rainey. And in addition to the work that I do with Steve, I'm also known as the Radical Success Coach. And we're actually in the midst of a free 6-week series on creating powerful success and the stages of success. And so if anyone wants to jump in, it's not too late to grab a spot, and you can sign up for that absolutely free at DoreenRainey.com.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Create Your Life family, y'all know where y'all can catch me. Right here next week, every week for the show, but also on all social media handles at Kevin Y. Brown. So it's been amazing. Thank you all for being here, being a guest on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And so Create Your Life family, we'll catch you next week. Beautiful people, if you enjoyed this episode of the Create Your Life series, be sure to download it from our podcast, which is available on createyourlifeseries.com, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and Google Music. Also, be sure to leave a review of the podcast. You can catch us live on Sundays from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time via 90.3 FM in New York, or on Facebook Live at facebook.com/KevBrown1. We encourage you to participate in the conversation on Facebook or call in at 212-650-6903. Follow us on Instagram at CYLS Series and at Kevin Y. Brown. Be blessed, and we'll see you back here live next week.
Create your life. Crée ta propre vie.
Create your life.
创造你的生活。
Create your life.
Crea la tua vita.
Create your life.
Unstick your liver.
You better create your life.
Create your life.
Create la vie.
Create your life.
Create your life.